Good evening and welcome to the Indiana University Cinema's virtual screening room. I'm Brittany Friesner, the cinema's interim director. Please note that tonight's event will feature live captioning, and to turn on captions, you'll want to move your mouse to the toolbar at the bottom of your screen, click on Live Transcript, then click Show Subtitle. If you have any issues accessing this feature, please feel free to ask a question using the Q&A box, which is also found at the bottom of your Zoom screen. To begin tonight's program, IU wishes to acknowledge and honor the Indigenous communities native to this region and recognize that Indiana University Cinema is built upon Indigenous homelands and resources. We recognize the Miami, the Delaware, the Potawatomi, and the Shawnee people as past, present, and future caretakers of this land. And we are grateful to work on this land and encourage each of you to reflect on the land from which you are watching tonight. Thank you for joining us this evening for our virtual screening of the 2014 film A Hard Day, directed by Kim Seong-hun. Tonight's program is a part of the Crossing Genres Kim Seong-hun film series, curated by Darcy Paquette and myself, in collaboration with Seung-kyung Kim and John Finch of the Institute for Korean Studies, with support from IU Cinema, as well as the Ove W Jorgensen Foundation. The Crossing Genre series includes tonight's A Hard Day film screening with live introductions, Thursday's Jorgensen Guest Filmmaker program, which will be followed by a Q&A, and a virtual screening of director Kim's film Tunnel, which is available to all who registered for either tonight's event or Thursday's event. And those instructions will be in your confirmation email from Zoom. Introducing tonight's guests is John Finch, lecturer in the Department of East Asian Languages and Cultures and Associate Director of the Institute for Korean Studies in IU's School of Global and International Studies. Before coming to IU, Finch was Assistant Professorial Lecturer in the Department of East Asian Languages and Literatures at George Washington University from 2004 to 2015. Trained as a cultural anthropologist, Finch specializes in the Asia-Pacific region, and his research focuses on family migration and education, gender, culture, and cinema, globalization and inequality, and household and community ethnography. A selection of courses he's taught include Contemporary South Korean Society, Korean Society through Literature and Film, and Cinema and Society in Contemporary Korea. Please join me in welcoming John Finch.
Good evening, and welcome to the Institute for Korean Studies' 5th annual Korean film series entitled Crossing Genres, a discussion with director Kim Seong-hun. My name is John Finch, and I am the Associate Director of the Institute for Korean Studies. The Institute for Korean Studies at Indiana University was founded in 2015 within the Hamilton Luger School of Global and International Studies. We promote interdisciplinary approaches to the understanding of Korea on campus and beyond, and advance cultural fluency through providing programs for students, faculty, and the community. As part of our programming mission, the Institute hosts an annual Korean film series, and this is our 5th. I would like to thank the Academy of Korean Studies for generous funding that includes support for the series. Now I would like to introduce our first guest from Korea, Darcy Paquette. Darcy Paquette is one of South Korea's most prominent film critics and is the creator of the website koreanfilm.org. He is also an IU alumnus with a master's degree in applied linguistics. After moving to Korea in 1997 to teach English at Korea University, he became fascinated with Korean cinema and made it his life's work. He created his English language website dedicated to Korean film in 1999, and during the opening decade of the new millennium, Koreanfilm.org made an important contribution to the recognition that Korean cinema achieved worldwide. Darcy has participated in over 100 Korean films as subtitle translator, editorial supervisor, and/or actor. He is most famous for providing the English subtitles for director Bong Joon-ho's Parasite. In addition to his film criticism, he is involved with several film festivals worldwide and has written scholarly and popular articles on the Korean film industry, with pieces published in Screen, Variety, and the Korean Film Weekly, Cine 21. Darcy teaches film studies at the Busan Asian Film School. He's helped IKS with our Korean film series by connecting us to both new and established film directors, and he was the 2020 IKS Scholar in Residence. Now I turn to Darcy to introduce director Kim Seong-hun.
Hello from Seoul. I'm happy to be here today to introduce this film and director Kim Seong-hun. I think perhaps the first question to answer is why Kim Seong-hun? Why plan this special focus on his work at this moment? And I think that he's a director who has accomplished a great deal in a short amount of time, both in terms of feature film making. I mean, we'll talk more about his career in depth on Thursday at the Jorgensen lecture. But with just 3 feature films, he's already really made an impact on the industry. But not only in feature film directing, but also he's very well known, of course, for his Netflix series Kingdom, which I imagine many of you who are listening here today may be familiar with. It's a period set zombie film that was tremendously successful around the world, and which in many ways kind of introduced something new to the Korean film and content scene. So in that sense, you know, as someone who's working both on OTT platforms and in feature filmmaking, who's very successful in both and who has been continues to go back and forth between the two. He's in some ways very much a person of his times. Netflix is certainly having a great impact on the Korean film industry. And so we wanted to perhaps hear his perspective on that as someone who, going forward as well, is sure to be playing a very important role in Korean cinema. The other reason to plan this special focus is to give viewers the opportunity to revisit some of these films that they may have missed. And I'm really happy to be introducing A Hard Day right now. You know, this is a film that came out in 2014, and it took some viewers by surprise, I guess. It was invited to the Director's Fortnight section at the Cannes Film Festival. And, you know, one of the things that Korean cinema is famous for is the thriller genre and its accomplishments in that genre. There are many famous works, I mean, Old Boy, Memories of Murder, The Chaser. And this film represents one of the peaks in the Korean thriller genre. You know, thrillers, this is a genre that's named like horror after the impact that it has on the audience, the way that it makes the audience feel. And certainly this film is very successful in doing that. It's a film with a great deal of suspense and tension. It's quite surprising, I think, just the extent to which the director is able to create this sense of momentum in this film. And then there are also a lot of surprises in the film. And, you know, the surprises when you're watching the film for the first time, certainly it'll be a great pleasure to experience all these for the first time. But, you know, having watched the film several times, I can reassure you that when you go back and watch the film again, even if you know what is coming, it's still just as exciting to watch. I think because the director is so precise in his execution, and everything, you know, both technically and in terms of the acting, everything is done on such a high level that it's just really exciting to watch this film unfold and to see a bit about how he does it. And then there are other things that make this film stand out as well. The hero is quite an interesting character. He's not a typical positive hero. And this is one of those films that makes you kind of question this idea of audience identification with the main character. I think there's something basic in our psychology that makes us identify with the main character in a film. And yet there are some aspects of this character that may not be entirely positive. And so the relationship between the audience and the main character is interesting in this film. It complicates notions of kind of good and evil. And then the whole issue of justice that is presented in this film is quite interesting as well. You can see it as kind of a very cold look at Korean society, at this question of who benefits in Korean society, who actually is able to achieve justice, and raises various issues in this film, which he would continue to go on and explore in his subsequent feature Tunnel, which has also been made available for viewers here. So I won't say anything about the plot because I think it's better to just discover this cold, but I do expect that you will enjoy this film. And now I'd like to, I guess, now let's hear directly from director Kim Seong-hun in Seoul.
안녕하세요. 끝까지 간다 연출자 김성훈입니다. 끝까지 간다는 2014년에 만들어지고 관객들을 만났었는데요. 그때는 이런 마스크 없이 자유로이 살던 시기였던 것 같아요. 벌써 1년째 이 마스크에 갇혀서 저희들이 이제 답답하게 살고 있는데요. 아무쪼록 빠른 시일 내에 마스크 없이 좋아하는 영화를 마음껏 극장에서 편히 볼 수 있는 시기가 찾아오길 바랍니다. 그때까지 여러분들 모두 건강하시고요. 즐거운 관람 되시길 바랍니다.
Thank you, Director Kim, Darcy, and John, and to everyone at the Institute for Korean Studies for making tonight's event and this entire series possible. At the end of this introduction, you will see information about how to watch tonight's film. We are also including this in the chat. Please note, we do have a limited number of views of complimentary passes available on a first come, first served basis. After that, you'll be able to watch the film for a small fee once those passes are gone. Please note also that the film will not screen in this Zoom webinar window. You will need to open a web browser with the address provided and enter the password provided as well. We will not be having a Q&A following tonight's film. However, as I mentioned earlier, we hope you'll join us this Thursday, February 25th at 8 p.m. Please notice the time difference from our usual event start time, for a conversation with Director Kim, moderated by Darcy Paquette, which will include a Q&A after their conversation. I'd like to thank the entire IU Cinema team, especially Elena, Seth, and Elizabeth, who have all worked behind the scenes to make tonight's event possible. We encourage you to visit our website at cinema.indiana.edu for more info on this series and for all of our upcoming virtual events and curated streaming offerings. To all of you who tuned in tonight, thank you once again for being with us. Please take care of yourselves and be kind and generous to others. We hope you enjoy the film.